Welcome to the session. Topic of this session is tools and techniques of policy implementation, monitoring and evaluations. You are aware that the policy formulation, policy making is a complex process, require involvement of large number of stakeholders and large number of resources we need to have, and then we have required different knowledge and skills to develop a very good policy and develop a program to have impact on the society as a whole, the positive impact actually we want out of the policy. And so development of policy is very important, but rather more important is the policy implementation. When we develop the policy and we are not having good implementation, it is very difficult to achieve the targeted objective, targeted outcomes. So implementation is very much required in very good manner, and for implementation and for proper implementation we need to have the monitoring and evaluation of the implementation aspect, implementation phase actually. And actually this monitoring and the evaluation, they help us in tracking the progress of the implementation, the execution of the policy or program or project, and they provide us an opportunity to rectify the process or to bring some improvement so that we can get the desired output of the policy formulated, the program formulated, project formulated. So in this session basically we are going to discuss about this monitoring and the evaluation aspect in the policy implementation, and there are various tools available. There are various techniques available for monitoring and evaluation. So we are going to discuss in this session basically the tools and techniques of policy implementation, monitoring and evaluation. So here first let us understand what is the monitoring and what is the evaluation of policy implementation. So monitoring is basically a regular systematic collection and analysis of the information to track the progress of the project implementation. So here basically we monitor the progress of the policy and by collecting the systematic information and data to take the policy. And here in the monitoring basically we explain what is happening. So what is going on in the implementation process, that we monitor, we track in the monitoring. And then evaluation is basically analysis information to assess values, worth and impact of the project. So here basically we analyze the information to assess the values, worth and impact of the project. So here basically we measure the objectives, outcome of the projects in the implementation stage. So here we also look at the dynamics of the development intervention. So if there is some changes there is some factors which are affecting the development process, we also measure through the evaluations, and we also identify the reasons for the project or policy success and failures in the evaluation and through the evaluation process. So in the evaluation basically we explain why the particular objectives have been succeed or we have achieved the particular objective. So actually we here explain why the particular things happen during the implementation stage. So here we learn and we share the important lessons from the project or policy implementation. So in case of evaluation of policy implementation, basically it provides the deeper insights that influence the implementation. So here get more critical information about the implementation stage, and basically for this purpose basically we require the baseline or regular data collection, and also we need to have the evaluation framework. So while designing the project or while starting the implementation process, we need to define the evaluation framework, the evaluation methodology, and here we can define the evaluation like a periodical study to measure, stabilize and analyze the realization of objectives as well as the process leading up to their realization. So here basically the evaluation is basically a periodical study to measure, stabilize the analysis, and what we have to analyze, we want to analyze is the realization of objective as well as the process through which we get the objective achieved. And the objective of the evaluation is that to determine entirely a project effectiveness, efficiency, policy and significance, and and basically we want to improve the intervention process, the project implementation process. The importance of policy implementation and monitoring and evaluation is basically it offers the opportunities to prove the impact of the work. So, through this monitoring and evaluation we can prove that we have achieved some things, it has some effect on the society, and here we take the implementation and we can reassess the priorities if there is a ongoing practice. So, policy implementation, if there is some new changes have appear, so we can reassess the priority, we can compile the information, and the information generated during the monitoring and evaluation also help in developing the future proposal. So, it provides better means for learning from the past experiences, and it helps basically in improving the service delivery, planning and allocating resources and demonstrating results. So, what is the need for monitoring? It produces timely, adequate information about the impact of the policy in projects, provide data for plan adjustment and resources and resource management and according to the project needed and opportunities. So, we can have a proper planning through the information generated in the monitoring process, and it also have the importance on recording the information to illustrate accountability and to provide the future evaluation. So, through the monitoring we can fix some accountability to the persons who are involved, and it provide the information for the future evaluation also. And for the need of evaluation, basically it analyzes what has been done and identify the reasons for both success and failure. Normally this evaluation normally carried out at the end of the project, but can be done at a specified time also, in between also, and make accountable the administrator, both beneficiaries and the funders. So, through the evaluation process we can make the administrator, the policy implementer to the account, to make them accountable to the beneficiaries and funders, the project sponsoring agency, and then we can learn about the realization of quantitative improvement and greater effectiveness in the futures, and we can express through the evaluation the project implementing agency, they can express their accountability to the donors, that they can tell the donor agency that we have achieved the desired objective, we have achieved the desired outcome by implementing the projects. And basically we have different types of tools and techniques for policy monitoring and implementation, and some of the tools and approaches are complementary, they help each other in their activity, in their process, and some are substitutes, some are they are we can use only one or no need to use the other, but some of the tools and approaches they are complementary, they help each other in their evaluation, in their procedure. And some of the tools and techniques, they are broad in their applicability, and then the other are quite narrow in their usage, and choice of appropriate tools depend on the range of considerations like usage for which we are doing the monitoring and evaluations, and then the stakeholders involved, for them the information is to be collected or for them the information is to be provided, and the speed with which the information is needed, and the cost of the monitoring and evaluations. If we need to have fast information, we need to employ different techniques. If we want to have sufficient time, we have sufficient cost with us to conduct the monitoring and evaluation, we have the bigger, larger tools and techniques. We have different tools and techniques for policy monitoring and evaluation. And the first technique we can discuss here is the performance indicators. So, here basically we define some indicators of the performance in which we are doing, objectives we are doing, or some activities are doing, some parameters we are achieving. So, we can fix the indicators of each objective, activities or parameters. So, basically they are the measures of inputs, process, output, outcome and impact of development projects, program strategies. So, through the performance indicators we can measure the input, process, output, outcome, and this performance indicator basically they enable the manager to track the progress, demonstrate the results and take corrective action to improve service delivery. and this proportion indicator, they need to be supported with sound data collections. We may sometimes involve the formal survey also to collect the data in order to identify or in order to analyze the or in order to have a reporting based on the performance indicator tools. So participation of key stakeholder is important in defining the key indicators. So and in defining the indicator is also very important. So here we need to involve all the stakeholders who are involved in the policy implementation, policy monitoring or policy evaluation process. And the usage of this policy indicator tool is basically it help in setting the performance target and assessing the progress. So based on the performance indicator, we can set some targets and we can assess whether target have been achieved or not, and it helps us in identifying the problems as an early warning system to allow corrective actions and indicate the requirement for in-depth evaluation or review. So from the performance indicator, we get idea about the about the in-depth evaluation and review which may be required in the assessment of the policy action. So advantage of this tool is that it is effective means to measure progress towards the objective, and it facilitates benchmarking comparison between the different organizational unit, district and over the time. So it provides some indicators, so we can compare the different organization unit or different the project implementation unit using these indicators. And we have some limitation also here. If these indicators are poorly defined, they are not the good measure of success, and sometimes too many indicators are there, so which make these techniques very costly or sometimes very impractical. So we cannot use this performance indicator tools for monitoring and evaluation. The another technique is the logical framework, log frame approach, and it helps us to clarify the objectives of any project, program and policy. Basically it is a causal link between the objectives and the activities and the outcome. So it is basically a causal link. For each stage, basically we identify the performance indicators. For each element of chain, actually we identify the performance indicator, and also we identify some risk or uncertainty if it is there in the chain of the process, and it is a vehicle for engaging partner in clarifying the objectives and designing activities. So it provides a complete understanding of the objectives or the activities identified or which activities we have designed for the achieving that objective. So during implementation, this log frame approach serves as a useful tool to review the progress and take the corrective action. And the use of this log frame approach is basically it improves the quality of the project and the program designs. It helps in the improving the quality of the project and as well as the designing of the project, and it summarizes the design of complex activities. So here we can easily within when we develop the log frame approach within 2-3 tables, and we can summarize the complete the project in a very precise way which is understandable to all the people, so all the stakeholders. So it assists the preparation of detailed operational plans and provide the objective basis for activity reviews and monitoring and evaluations. There are some advantage and limitation again of the log frame approach. The advantage is that it provides the clarity on the objectives, activities and assumption and risk, and engage the stakeholder in the planning and in the monitoring process. But if this technique is used dynamically, it is very effective tools of management. If it is used as a rigidity with complete rules and regulations, it stifles the creativity and innovation. So it stops this creativity, innovation. We follow complete chain as prescribed. Next approach is the theory-based evaluations, and this approach is a little bit similar to the log frame approach, but much more in depth understanding of the working of the program activity is there in this theory based evaluation. So, it do much more in depth analysis while monitoring and evaluation of that project activity. This tool basically we do not assume a simple linear cause and effect relationship. It is a little complex. There are multiple factors which affect the output of which affects the objective achievement of a implementation or of a policy. So, here we assess, we identify the multiple factors in through this evaluation techniques. So, example is that if we have objective, we have program to increase the literacy level by increasing the number of teachers. So, the increase of the illiteracy level or literacy level basically, it is not only governed by the number of teachers. There are certain other factors are also there. And success depend on many factors like classroom, availability classroom should be there, availability textbook is there, in the reaction of the parents, the school principals and school children is also very important, and the skills and morals of teachers who are already there or the new teachers. So, that is also important to have an impact. They had the impact on the literacy level. Then reliability to the government funding also impact the the program. So, if we have project or program to increase the literacy levels, so not only the number of teachers, there are many factors which need to be considered. So, this theory based evaluation brings different factors which affect the outcome. So, here basically we map out the determining of causal factors which may be in multiple number, and here we allow the critical success factor to be identified. So, through this evaluation process we identify the critical factors which affect the outcome, and this techniques can be used to mapping out the design of complex activities and improve the planning and management. And advantage are that it provides early feedback about what is or what is not working and why. So, it provides some feedback or early warnings type of system, and this theory based evaluation help us, it assists in the identification of unintendable side effect of the program, and there are limitations is also there. It become overly complex if the scale of activity is too large, or if an exhaustive list of factors or assumption is assembled. There are large number of factors are there, so it will become a complex process, very difficult to undertake. Sometimes stakeholder might also disagree about the determining factors. If the process, the evaluation techniques, we have identified some factors, but the factor or the stakeholder, they do not agree on that factor. So, this type of complex process is there. Formal survey is another techniques or tools which are widely used in the impact assessment, in the policy monitoring, and in the policy evaluation. So, here we collect the standardized information from a carefully selected sample of people or households, and we collect the comparable information for a relatively large number of people in the particular target group. So, here we take the collection from a subset or from a sample identified from the information is collected on the various parameters of success which we identify very carefully. And this is very useful technique actually, which can be used, which provide basically the baseline data to compare the performance of the strategy, program and project. And here we can compare the different groups, and we also see the change over the time, and we can actually we can compare the actual condition with the targeted established and describe the condition in a particular community or group, and it provides a key input to formal evaluation. An advantage of formal survey are the finding can be applied to wider target group or to the population as a whole, because we are collecting the information from a sample, but that sample is representing a large population, so or a complete population. So, this finding from the formal survey can be used to gather the information to to gather the inferences of the total population. So, the quantity estimates can be made for the size and distribution of impact. So, we can easily identify or we can estimate the project outcomes or impact based on this quantitative estimates of the sample. And limitation is also there of this formal survey, like survey are expensive and time consuming. Many kind of information are difficult to obtain for the formal interviews, like we cannot collect the personal information from the sample, they are earning or some personal information we cannot collect from the formal survey. And processing analysis of data can be major bottleneck for the larger sample, because it requires a lot of skills, knowledge as well as the resources to process the data for analyzing or for interpretation of the result. And the rapid appraisal method is also another technique widely used when we need information on immediate basis. So, for quick low cost way, this is the quick and low cost way to gather the views and feedback of the different stakeholders for decision makers need of information. And this rapid appraisal method we can use for the management decision making, especially at the project or program level, and it provides the qualitative understanding of the complex socio-economic changes, because we collect the information directly from the the pupils or target groups or beneficiary. So, here we can collect the information, quality information about the interactive social situation, pupils' value, their motivation or their reaction towards the projects. So, and it provides the context and interpretation of the quantitative data collected by more formal methods. So, sometimes what happens, even to verify the data of the formal survey, the information of the formal survey, we conduct this rapid appraisal method. And the advantage of this rapid appraisal method is it can be conducted quickly and provide flexibility to explore the new ideas, and limitation is that finding relate to a specific communities or localities. So, we cannot generalize the results or finding of that, generalize the results to a larger population, to a society as a whole, because the information is collected from a specific community or a specific locality. And the results are less valued, reliable and creditable, less credible than the formal survey, because we are collecting some information from a few people based on the by contacting them personally through other means. Then participatory method is another tools for policy monitoring and evaluations, and it basically provides active involvement of stakeholders in decision making for project, program and strategies, and generate a sense of ownership in the monitoring and evaluation results and recommendation. Actually, when we involve the stakeholders who are the participating in the activity of the project, who are the beneficiary of the project in assessing or in monitoring or in evaluation of the projects. So, they have a sense of ownership, they feel ownership, they feel connected. So, it gives the very good information. This method can be used for the learning about the local conditions and local people's perspectives and their priorities when we undertake the participatory methods. So, we can know their local level information, their interest, their priorities, and we can identify the problems and troubleshooting problem during the implementation. And if we are involving the stakeholders, we can easily overcome different problems which appear during the implementation process. And actually, this methods provide the knowledge and skills to empower the rural people. Advantage of participatory method is that it examines the relevant issues by involving key players in the design process, establish the partnership and local ownership of the project, it enhance the local learning, management capacity and skills, it provides the timely, reliable information for decision making. And limitation of the participatory method is basically this method is regarded as a less objective, time consuming if stakeholders are not involved in the meaningful way, and a scope for domination or misuse by some stakeholder is there in furthering their own interest. So, they can promote their own interest. So, that is the basically limitation of this technique. And the Public expenditure tracking survey is another method basically, and here we track the flow of public funds and determine the extent to which resources actually reach to the target groups. So here basically we track the flow of the resources, the funds from the from the government to the target beneficiaries. So if there is any deviation is there, we can easily identify. So here this survey basically, the public expenditure survey examine the manners, quantity and timing of release of resources to different agencies particularly responsible for the delivery of the social services. And this it can be implemented as a part of the larger service delivery and facility service, and here we focus on the quality of the survey, characteristics of the facilities, their management, incentives and structure. All these factors we consider while we have this public expenditure tracking survey. We can use the public expenditure tracking survey for diagnosing the problem in service delivery quantitatively and provide evidence if there is a delay, there is a leakage or there is a corruption in the project implementation. Advantage of this method is that it supports the pursuit of the accountability when little financial information is available, and improve the management by pinpointing the bureaucratic bottlenecks in the flow of the funds. And limitation of this survey is that the government agency may be reluctant to open their accounting books. So they will be reluctant to explain, or they will be reluctant to provide the details of their fund releasing information. So we will get the information. Then cost benefit analysis is another technique. It is a tool for assessing whether or not the cost of an activity can be justified by the outcome and impact. So it measures both input and output in monetary terms, and here we can use this analysis, cost benefit analysis, for the decisions about the most efficient allocation of the resources and identifying the project cost with highest rate of returns on the investment. The advantage of the cost benefit analysis is this suitable for estimating the economic efficiency and useful for justifying the policy makers and funders for the resources which we are going to spend on the new project. So limitations are that it is fairly technical, requiring adequate financial and human resources, requisite data may not be available sometimes, and projected result may be highly dependent on the assumption made in that conditions. Result must be interpreted with care of this cost benefit analysis, particularly in the projects where benefit are difficult to quantify, and there is just more of intangible benefits are there, more of secondary benefits are, it is very difficult to quantify. In that condition we cannot take the result properly, the output properly. And the impact assessment is another technique. It is basically systematic identification of effects on the individual household, institution and the environment. There may be the positive impact or negative impact, or sometimes we have the intended impact or unintended. It provides understanding on the extent to which the activity reaches the poor and the magnitude of their effect on the people's welfare. We can conduct a sample survey so that project population or control groups, there are two things are there. So we can compare the results by conducting the sample survey on the project population, and the results can be compared with the control groups where the project is not being implemented. So we can compare the results, and small scale rapid assessment or participatory appraisal also we can conduct to have the impact assessment. This impact assessment can be used for measuring the outcome and impact and distinguish this from the influence of other external factors. So here we can justify the cost for an activity, and then actually it helps in informing decisions to expand, modify and implement the projects, program and policies. And we can draw the lessons for improving the design of the future projects using this impact assessment technologies or techniques, and we can compare the effectiveness of the alternative interventions, alternative projects, and it helps in the strengthening the accountability of the project implementers for the results In terms of results, advantage of impact assessment is that it provides the estimates of magnitude of outcome impact, and it is basically systematic analysis. Rigor can give the manager and policy maker in adding the confidence in them about the decision making, and the limitation is also there, like expensive and time consuming and the reduced utility when decision maker need information very quickly and difficult to identify an appropriate counterfactual. Now we can sum up this session that monitoring and evaluation are regular systematic collection and analysis of the information to track the progress and realization of the objectives. Monitoring analysis is done to measure what is happening, and evaluation analysis is done to say or to find the reason why it has happened, and they suggest some corrective measures and learning for the future program. And we have several tools for the project monitoring and implementation or evaluation purpose. We have discussed the performance indicators, the logical framework approach, theory based evaluation, formal survey, rapid appraisal method, participatory method, public expenditure tracking survey is also there, the cost benefit analysis and impact assessment, and choice of these tools and techniques depend on the availability of data, time and local capacity, and each method have some advantage or some limitation. So we need to be carefully in selecting the tools and techniques for policy implementation, particularly the policy monitoring and evaluation. Thank you very much.